Doors are closed. I think that means we are ready to go.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for, first of all, finding us. This is like the other side of the strip. So thank you for joining us. And more importantly, how many of you won money last night in the casino?
There we go.
We got one person. Winner, winner. All right, So anyway, welcome to Las Vegas. This isn't about what you didn't do. What we're going to provide you here is what you can do. And this is about the art of the possible. And I hope that you guys will all enjoy this session so that you can really lean to your book of knowledge and make proper business decisions going forward. So here's our agenda for the day.
And just by a quick round of introduction, I'm James Arode. I'm Chief Cloud Officer at Lightedge. So I've really spent the past dozen or so years solely focused on growing our hyperscale business, first at an all-in AWS provider, and more recently at a company that offers a very holistic solution at Lightedge, and that's going to be what we talk about today. And I'll kick it over to my friend, IBM counterpart, Richard.
Yeah, I'm Richard Daleski. Pleasure to meet you all. I'm VP of Hybrid Enterprise Cloud Solutions. 37 years on the IBM platform. And we're going to talk a lot about IBM. IBM champion. I speak at conferences around the world, published author. I've got a great book out there. If any of you have problems sleeping, please order it, read it. Works like this, right? So anyways, welcome everybody.
Just diving into the agenda, you can see the points here, but really what we want to focus on is you are at AWS reInvent. So this presentation, you probably will hear AI the least amount of times at any other presentation you're going to be here, because you're here at AWS reInvent talking about mid-range and IBM I. This is not something that is applicable to lots of companies. But if you are running IBM I, Power, any of these things, it's a very specific problem. Maybe not a problem, but an item that you have to deal with. It's not something that is necessarily going to go away. And we want to focus on, if you're running mid-range, if you're running Power, what are the problems you may be running into? What is your long-term modernization strategy? You're at reInvent for a reason, because your company has most likely a cloud-first long-term vision. But if you're running IBM I, there are some things you need to address. And I'll actually kick it to Richard so he can maybe just talk a little bit about mid-range versus mainframe before we really dive in.
Yeah, well, thank you. So again, in the public cloud circle, we hear the word mainframe a lot. And the mainframe is a thing. It's an IBM technology called the Z-Series. And this session is focused on something called the IBM Power, which runs an IBM I operating system and or a AIX operating system. So we're going to focus on a mid-range system because we know that many of you in this room, hopefully all of you in this room, are running an enterprise that is built around an IBM Power system foundation to drive your business and, more importantly, your applications. And one of the things we're going to talk about is why you should adopt, why you should go a certain path, and not just stop and hit the easy button. We're going to give you a path to give you positive business success. There's a lot of ways to get there. We're going to show you many paths to get there so that you can provide your business really some intellectual information on how to get there safely, securely, and with a proper price foundation.
I think what we're really going to focus on, we want to set the stage here, and we can go to the next slide. We want to really set the stage for, if you're running these systems, a lot of these items that you see in front of you aren't really going to be new to you. This isn't a survey that we ran. This is a survey that Gartner ran, basically asking 1,000 different Power users, IBM users, what were their concerns. You'll see cybersecurity, H8 and DR, and compliance and regulations. I don't think those are specific to mid-range at all. If you ask anybody in tech, those are always going to pop up. The two big ones that we're going to focus here are the skills shortage and the modernization, because I think those are the things that I'd say are a little bit more unique to IBM I and mid-range in general. If we dive into the next slide, even with those challenges, it's such a powerful and resilient platform that a lot of companies don't want to move off of it. It is a lot of work to completely modernize and go cloud native from IBM into maybe an AWS. So from the Gartner survey, they also found out that companies are still investing, still buying IBM hardware, and the users that are running it, they love it. You talk to a manufacturing company, it can really be the lifeblood of their company. It's their ERP, it's their JD Edwards, it's their SAP HANA. So to completely move off of it is a huge endeavor. And a lot of companies, even though they have maybe a cloud-first initiative, they don't necessarily want to just try to completely get off of IBM. And you can still see here, most companies are still running it on-prem today. And a big reason for that is there isn't really a cloud-native solution for it. You can move VMs to AWS. That's a pretty easy lift and shift. You cannot do that. Like, there's no way to just drag and drop IBM into AWS. So you see here, there's still a majority of these systems running on-prem today with, you'll see that 15% hybrid in the chart there. But basically, as we're going to dive into the next few slides, running it on-prem comes with its own set of, I don't want to say challenges, but there are certain things you need to think about long-term if you continue to run it on-prem today.
Thank you. So just a little bit of a survey here, if I may. How many of you are running an IBM I operating system today? Show of hands. Many. How about AIX? Okay, a few. How many of you are running a commercial ERP software like a JD Edwards, Manhattan, BPEX, okay, and then homegrown code? Okay, so we got a pretty even balance. So, one of the things, as James mentions, these are not exclusive to IBM. They are industry direction that your business wants you to participate in. And we can't have a security posture that is just restricted or limited to the open system stack, to our Linux servers or VMs, because the security posture is wide across our entire enterprise. So the single point of failure is the part that's not protected, right? So one of the things that we look at on-prem is, what is your security posture? And as we spin forward, do we have the skills to implement the security that is needed today? And we find a lot in the IBM Power system community. There's a lot of gaps where we've always been tried and true, where the IBM Power system's never been hacked. So we go, oh wow, so we're safe, we're in a safe haven, but there's a lot of internal issues, and a hack doesn't have to be a ransomware necessarily. Well, what about having all of your information stolen, right? In IT, we're all in a business of protecting our data, and our data is our greatest asset. And the obvious question is, can you buy your data anywhere? No, and if you can, you've had a security breach, right? So you are first off in a business of protecting your data, your greatest asset. But as you spin the clock forward in all these pillars, it's about uptime. Our business is asking us to keep the systems up and running all the time. So what level of resiliency? So resiliency is not disaster recovery, but uptime, continuous uptime, concurrent patching, concurrent maintenance, and not asking the business, can you shut down for the next few hours because we got to do something that they don't understand? Because they want to keep the trucks going. They want to keep the business moving. So having a posture around compliance, disaster recovery, resiliency, high availability, maybe clustering, these are all things that go back to skills. And is your IBM Power Shop really engaged and capable of bringing your enterprise forward into the next level of what the business needs? Get this button here. So, what's the importance of IBM Power Systems? Well, the IBM Power System is the system of record, right? It is the engine room of your corporations. Millions and millions of transactions that drive revenue are going through this system of record. And some of us, it might be in a basement, hopefully that's not your computer room, but it is tucked away and assumed and presumed that it's just always running. But then we want to take that system of record and expose it securely, of course, expose it and bring it forward to systems of engagement. IT today is built differently, consumed differently than it was 10 years ago, let alone 5 years ago. In the past, the IT guys would just simply buy some new hardware, refresh it every 3-4 years, and they got a check mark. They did their job. But we're talking about bringing an evolution forward. So we are open 7/24. The IBM Power system is your revenue generator. So we know that our customers tell us how to run our systems. You must always be available. Why? Because our customers say you're open for business, not you're closed because you're doing a maintenance. You know, I was just literally on American Airlines the other day, not that I'm against American Airlines, but I tried to change my flight and system maintenance. I went, it's 2 PM, unavailable. So we are in a business where that system of engagement, that iPhone, that desktop, Black Friday shopping, keeping the trucks going, keeping transactions moving, and making them available to all levels of engagement and analytics and making business decisions now, not overnight in a batch posture. So let's talk about what type of hybrid cloud architectures that we can present here.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. This is where I think Lightedge has, we've developed a solution that hopefully will make sense to a lot of you. Just a quick show of hands, how many of you are running production workloads on AWS today? Okay,
2, 3.
Now, what we've really found, and it seems like a lot more hands went up asking about who is running JD Edwards on-prem, who is running IBM Power. More of those hands went up. And what we're probably going to say isn't going to be anything new to you is the reason you might not be able to run those workloads on AWS is because the performance requirements that are needed in the systems Richard was referencing, they need to be absolutely lightning fast. So they need to be, and we saw that 75% of enterprises are still running workloads on-prem. A lot of that is due to the fact that the application just requires it. You need lightning fast, latency, high performance. And trying to do that in a pure cloud motion, it just isn't maybe necessarily feasible. It said you can't just drag and drop IBM into AWS, which is why you might not be able to move those other workloads into AWS. So what we've done at Lightedge is we've actually built Lightedge data centers effectively in the same regions as AWS. And we've connected them with heavy-duty direct connect pipes so that one IBM LPAR could be talking to 100 Windows VMs. We've seen situations where there's been 50 LPARs it's talking to upwards of 5,000 VMs. Those VMs would be great candidates to go to AWS, but because of the traditional type of setup, without maybe this hybrid motion, you're kind of locked into that on-prem solution. By developing this, I'm oversimplifying it a little bit because I'm nowhere near as technical as Richard. He'll dive into the technical bones of it in a second. But by developing this, you can move your IBM workloads into the Lightedge hosted data center and then move all of those other connected workloads into AWS. So you can move 70, 80, 90% of your traditional IT inventory into AWS. And that is truly when you are able to modernize off of just a standard VM type of approach. You can go into cloud native. You can do what I would call maybe the easy modernization, where you got file servers into FSX, databases into RDS. That's the easy stuff we can do right away. But by having this type of solution and being able to move a lot of your workloads into AWS, you start to gain the benefits of the services that AWS can provide without having to completely re-architect and rewrite your application. The type of workloads running on IBM are mission critical, and to do a complete modernization, we can help with that, but I think anybody here knows you don't just do it in 2 weeks. It can be a multi-year endeavor, but what we can do here is by having the IBM solutions in the hosted data center and all those connected workloads in AWS, you're getting the benefit of running the lion's share of your workloads in AWS while still not completely overhauling the most important kind of workload and infrastructure at your company.
Well said.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I hear on the floor, I speak at conferences and I go, well, we are on an unsupported IBM technology. We're end of life. I can't get to cloud. It's not cloud ready. It's not cloud native. And one of the things that we've done is provided a path for you in a lift and shift motion to now take some of your older systems and provide you a transition path to allow you to be supported in running your key core applications on a system of record for the purpose of being viable and taking advantage of our enterprise business-driven technology. We don't just buy hardware and we go, our hardware is bigger than your hardware. We have purpose-built architecture here for the purpose of delivering a low latency connection in a hybrid motion, because distance kills. You're going to find as you go on your cloud adoption journey, you will embrace hybrids eventually. Today, next year, but you want that first motion to happen where you can move, lift the shift, your IBM Power systems into the on-network that we provide adjacent to AWS so that we can take your older gear, bring you current or as current as possible without breaking your applications, and now give you a journey or a path to allow you to start to look at modernization, whether it's code rewriting or taking advantage of some of those native AWS cloud services. Today, when you're on-prem, distance may not kill you today, but it will hurt you tomorrow. So we have a lot of customers where, you know, they build, well, let me say it this way. A lot of customers that have a data center on premise, you saw the statistics, 65, 70%. Yep. You don't really realize about the distance because you're synchronous. You are right next to your Windows boxes, but the minute you start to go to a cloud or hosted environment, distance becomes a major factor. So that's something that we can accommodate older technology, give you a path, and stop you from just hitting the easy button and just keeping it status quo. We're here at reInvent to learn about how not to be status quo, but how to be business ready for the next initiatives, right? How many times have you heard the word AI today, right? Even at Thanksgiving dinner, my mother, 84 years old, what is this AI stuff? She thinks we're being spied on. You know, there's different levels of how AI is actually executing, and look at this, right? But we're not talking about AI. We're going to talk about how to enable AI, how to enable your IBM Power system. So, you know, again, you know, we offer the best step forward. So we unify the IBM Power Cloud that we have, Power Clouds plural, to enable you to have a path into multiple AWS gateways. And those gateways or availability zones allow you to run your whole business holistically. We have managed services because, again, once you get to a cloud foundation, you are going to be asked as an IT provider to deliver a higher level of service. So consider us as an extension of your IT department. We will enable you to do the things that you couldn't do for your business in a cost reason, staffing reason, or maybe the fact that you really had a skills shortage when it's all said and done. So we don't want you to just constantly buy hardware. So when you come to our cloud foundation, you are out of the hardware acquisition business. So as you go 3, 4, 5 years, you know, we have customers that have been with us 20 plus years. We've been in this business 28 plus years, and they don't buy hardware. They land on a power system, and then 3, 4, 5 years from now, we will put them on a newer power system, and the cost to do that is zero. Because we want them on either the latest or N-1 architecture to enable them to do some of these things that they couldn't do before. Higher level of availability. Now they want clustering, or maybe they want a higher level of data protection. What about immutable backups? These are all things that they never could do, but they will do, and this is something that a hybrid forward motion will allow them to make happen.
I'd just add there, maybe just a quick show of hands. How many people here today are responsible for managing their mid-range solutions? A couple. Okay. And I think that kind of goes to show that we talk about how important these workloads are. They're driving millions or billions in transactional revenue, hosting important healthcare records, financial information. But we also know that there are not a lot of people going to school anymore to learn how to support IBM mid-range. Everybody is, everyone's going to learn AWS. They're going to learn Gen AI. Like that's what people are focused on. That's why most people are here. But the reason you're here is that like there is this need to support this platform, and the folks supporting it are kind of getting fewer and fewer by the year. This solution allows you to not completely have to overhaul everything and still get the same level of support. Honestly, probably a much larger level of support, while still going in that, I'd say, public cloud AWS forward motion.
Everybody likes architecture diagrams, right? Everybody likes documentation, but here's a high-level overview of our IBM I or AIX workloads and how they connect to the public cloud. So you've got East, US West, and we allow a foundation where we can provide an East and West presence, depending on where you are geographically, and give you the disaster recovery and resiliency. But let's get a little deeper here. The glue that makes us special, and I can say with 100% certainty, we are the only company in the world that provides an IBM Power system, high availability, multiple AZs in Ashburn, Virginia. So why do I want to beat my chest on that? Because when you promote and you do a lift and shift to our IBM cloud, you are now adjacent to the AWS public cloud. AWS Foundation comes around 6 availability zones, AZ1 through AZ6. And you're going to deploy your virtual machines and all your application set to allow them to transition and move within the availability zones so that they're always highly available. If we only had one IBM location, we would actually break that level of high availability, wouldn't we? So we have built 2 IBM cloud availability zones in Ashburn, Virginia. You can see AZ1 and AZ2 there, talking to all 6 of the AWS availability zones. So we can provide on the left side AWS access to your system of record in a less than 2 millisecond latency. So it's highly chatty, highly available, and we want those AWS workloads to hit the IBM Power system in a secure fashion to come up with business answers, AI, to actually use that information, Gen AI, to use that information and make available to the dashboards, to the users, to the community, whoever they serve. And it's not just having LPAR there, it's now what's underneath it. So high availability means also on the SAN infrastructure side. So we have the ability to do SAN 1 talking to SAN 2 and AZ1 and AZ2 respectfully. So we have policy-based replication that allows us to go to near zero data loss and near zero downtime. We use products like DB2 Mirror from IBM, clustering of your database. So when you have concurrent maintenance and you have a need to do your patching or maybe code updates, we can actually shut down one of the clusters, push the users over to the other one through balancing, and they don't even notice that there was an outage. Versus, the traditional, we ask the business, can I take down the systems for half an hour, 2 hours, etc. Backups. Again, backups, data protection. It's key to survival. It's not about taking a backup and archiving it. That's part of it. Restoring a file, that's also part of it. But every backup that we do, and we have flash copy capabilities, we can take a full system, if you're IBM I in the room, there's more over there, we can take an option 21 full system save every day through flash and get a full system backup and push it to another region, encrypted. So right away, we have 2 full system backups available to you. We can have a third, we can go to S3, we can give you another option where you have complete immutability if you were to have a ransomware situation. We can provide logical replication. Some of you that are running transaction-based, you want to have a logical replication versus hardware replication so that as each transaction goes from the left to the right, it gets recorded asynchronously. Well, wait a minute, we're synchronous because of our latency. But if you need to roll back something, so if James here accidentally deleted a file or he deleted a record, we don't want to do a complete restore of the entire database. We want to take that transaction, bring it back to the commitment boundary, and promote it back. And we're back as usual. And James, don't do that again. So, this is about data protection, high availability, resiliency, as it pertains to talking to all of your connected workload through AWS Region 1 through 6. So now you have a cloud forward motion here that allows you to address applications. So when we look at applications, many of you, I did a little bit of a survey, you might be running SAP, JD Edwards, PeopleSoft, Lawson, Manhattan. We can do lift and shift, bring you to our cloud, the IBM cloud, and take that connected workload in your data center and have it literally in 90 days, 120 days, in a position to be cloud ready. Many of our customers will stay on IBM and just modernize the low-hanging fruit. Some of you are going to go on a 2-year project, 1-year project, and start to do code rewrite because you want the code to behave differently to adapt to today's business needs. In the middle, you don't have to worry about refreshing, new hardware maintenance, new SWAMA. My cloud colo provider says I got to sign a 5-year contract or he's going to kick me out. Yeah, but we're right in the middle of something. We haven't decided. You can migrate to the IBM Lightedge cloud and stay as is. You can start to decrease your IBM consumption and increase your AWS consumption. So you're not locked in. You can schedule and you can build performance profiles. You have a cyclical, right now, I didn't shop on Cyber Monday. I don't know if you did, James, but the retail industry, higher CPW, higher RPERF requirement because there's more transactions going through. But then come maybe March, April, May, it's lower. So we can build consumable type models for you, where if you buy hardware and refresh, you got to buy for the peak or for the normal consumption. So pay for what you use and get a heck of a lot more. Protect your data, make it more available, make your systems accessible to drive something of value. Your leadership on the business side is going to say, what are we getting from this spend? And one of the knocks against an IBM Power system, it's been complacent. It's been, locked in the basement. It's been running fine. It never fails. But we haven't done anything different, and we see these annual bills come in. What am I getting for my money? And this is about showing your business that they can get more from spending the right amount of money. Get rid of your technical debt. Get rid of it. Let us deal with that. We will do all your licensing. Everything's included. And this allows you to start to have a cloud forward motion.
Yeah, next one. And I think really what this slide here is meant to represent, going back to when I asked everybody to raise their hand if they were running production workloads on AWS, it was a lot less than the folks that raised their hand saying they were running IBM Power on-prem. And I think a lot of that has to do with, if you think about modernization right from the get-go, it's a multi-year endeavor. And in that same time, to Richard's point, you could be buying hardware while the folks you have supporting the environment may be retiring and the skill shortage we addressed a bit earlier. By going to this type of solution, it truly is a crawl, walk, run type of approach. We can go as fast or as slow as any company would want. But I think one of the benefits that our clients would see in this type of solution is that it truly does put the pressure off in terms of, we have to do something absolutely right now or we can't support this. But if you go to this hybrid solution, you can get that low-hanging fruit modernization on those VMs right from the get-go. And by having those workloads running in AWS connecting to IBM, you get to start to leverage a lot of just the pure AWS solutions that you can't get in a VM-only type of environment. Long term, you can completely modernize off of the off of Power. We do have solutions and pathways to that, and it truly is just, I'd say it is the choice of each company out there. If they love the way IBM performs, they may never want to move off of it, and that's totally fine. We're at an AWS conference, so we have to talk about all the benefits of AWS. I would say in this hybrid motion, what a lot of our clients are seeing is they love the dependability of Power, of but they love the kind of more the business-focused solutions that they can get on AWS that can connect to their Power platform, and they're getting a lot more benefit because I'll say AI, they're leveraging a lot of these analytics, AI tool-based solutions that they just don't get by running it in that on-prem type of setup.
So what we thought we would do is really, sometimes the best way a picture tells the story, and we're going to go over 3 case studies here to really talk about that you can modernize in different ways. So modernization could mean a whole bunch of different things to every one of you, but it's about doing it with the right reason, with the right intent for your business. And every one of these are real stories, they're on our website, and the point is they were success stories. Why? Because they decided to deploy their systems out of the box differently. Mm-hmm. That's the key thing. Don't just get a quote and say, I want X amount of compute, I want it to run this fast, and I want to spend this much, I'm in the cloud. We're not the right company for you there. It's about really changing your posture. So let's talk about the first one here, James.
I'll dive in on this one. And I'd say the use case that we see this happen for a lot of our customers, it's really one of 2 things. We're running this solution in our data center today, and if we can't get it figured out, we're not moving anything to AWS. Or it is, we've moved everything to the public cloud, and we don't know what to do with this. Based on the show of hands earlier, I would say a lot of you fall into the former. A lot of hands went up for running IBM today, not a lot of hands going up for running on AWS. This case study here, large shipping and logistics SaaS company that we've worked with for years, they had absolutely nothing on AWS, and they had a homegrown ERP system that tracked all of their shipping fleet around the country. It's delivering millions in goods. So if anything goes wrong at any time, they're losing a lot of money. And they were running it in just a pure on-prem solution, multiple data centers. And we started working with them, and basically everything we've talked about for the past 30 minutes or so, that's what we did to start. We moved their IBM into the Lightedge data center, and the hundreds of connected VMs that it was talking to, we moved to AWS. And we were able to, let's talk kind of low-hanging fruit. We moved a lot of stuff to RDS. We did Redshift. That's kind of the easy stuff you can do right away. What that did, though, was inspire a bunch of confidence to the company. Their downtime went down, 98%. 98%. Like truly, like monumental performance improvement. And by doing that, this company was like, wow, AWS is really beneficial. So since then, they have migrated out of all 3 of their data centers and gone all in on AWS. Any new workloads they build are on pure AWS native, leveraging a lot of AI, so Bedrock, SageMaker. They're doing that stuff to drive value to the business. But at the core of it, they are still running. They're still running IBM in the data center. They don't necessarily have the desire to want to move off of that, with some really cool stuff around DB2 that Richard will be able to dive into that is very custom, and they don't want to shift off of that. But they want anything that is newly built, they want on AWS. And they're truly seeing just the benefits that they're getting as a business. They are leveraging technology to improve their business, as opposed to, in a lot of situations, it was a cost center before. Now they're getting meaningful insight out of what they're running in this solution.
Yeah, so again, to just lift and shift and leave it as is, we're about move and improve. And the big value for them was a product called IBM DB2 Mirror. And as we talk about a 98% value on downtime, You know, when you have 400,000 trucks with a big screen and it tells them where to ship, how to get there, shipping documents, you had 400,000 trucks that would be down during a planned maintenance window. And they would do this every quarter for 2 hours, fail over a set of systems, promote code, new SKUs, new vendors, and bring it back. So now the truckers, they wanted to keep the trucks moving, would print documents, shipping documents, and they would be at trucking depots, and sometimes they might leave a document or two behind. So not only did we have a downtime risk, we had a security risk. So taking all that going forward, we got rid of the downtime of 2 hours every quarter, or sometimes 3 hours, to less than 2 minutes, and they do what they call package build and deploys, literally weekly, with less than 2 minutes. So not one single truck in the fleet in North America is affected by this, but yet they see all the new products, new routes, etc. So the fact that this thing was on net with the 2 millisecond latency, they hit the IBM system with 4 to 5 times more IOs and transactions that they ever did when they were on-prem. So we've seen the adaptation of all these AWS microservices and AI and machine learning services to change how their business has and does work in the community. In the past, they would go and pick up fuel, and the trucker would use his own credit card. Then they had an account. Well, now they use something called a wallet, and that wallet has automatic payments. And not only that, it'll tell the trucker where to get the fuel. Even if he's got half a tank, you're going to be pulling off at exit 32 because they have the best price, and there's no lineups, and you can get back on the road. Their logistics side, using some of the tracking systems and the satellite capabilities of, again, an AWS product, allowed them to actually manage the fleet. What did that mean? It's not just about where the traffic is or where the snow is or an accident. It would actually manage right down to the shipping yards. So if they were going to go to a Home Depot, well, don't go there now, even though it's first on your list, because there is a 2-hour backlog of other trucks coming into the depot. We are going to reposition you, and you're going to go to truck yard 2, 3, 4, 5, and then do them at the end. That kind of intelligence that they brought in started with the IBM Power system, hitting the public cloud and coming back, and the amount of transaction and the consumption that they've built is incredible. Their business is like a fraction of what it was. Their business posture in IT is a fraction of what it was years ago. And it all started by not abandoning the Power system, keeping what worked very well, and enabling cloud services. So, talk about a value statement. You didn't change, you didn't have to do a code rewrite, but in fact you did code enhancements and APIs to allow you to better the way you deliver goods. Literally, I guess. This was, I don't know if some of you follow me on LinkedIn here, some don't. We just actually announced it here at the conference. This was a major bank that in Latin America, where they had end-of-life hardware, which applies to just about half the people I've spoken to at this event, and they had to make a big decision. Reinvest and stay as is, and be locked into a 5-year paper, or start to move forward. And we didn't go in there with the assumption that we would just start modernizing code, because that was two years worth of work, hour and a half. So we took all their core banking systems as is, brought them to the Lightedge cloud, and enabled an entire AWS modernization project. So we were lockstep with their professional services and allowed this low latency connection to drive a digital transformation for the business end user. There's all these press releases, this is out of Bogota, Colombia, in the community praising the bank for being the most transformational leader by just changing the way the consumer could access his or her money from systems that were lift and shifted, adapting AWS tools to a point where they are like night and day different from what they were literally 11 months ago. So the big thing here was uptime. They could never deliver uptime because they would have to buy 2x, 3x of the systems. And many of us think that if we have 100 LPARs that we should make all 100 highly available. We actually built tiers where we have clustering. You saw AZ1 and AZ2 for Lightedge. We clustered AZ1 and AZ2, so we have high availability, zero downtime for their core banking, so a consumer can get his or her money or transfer funds or fund their kids. That seems to be the full-time job for me. And move the money to the kids' account and be able to do this in a digital fashion. They couldn't do that. They were old school. They would go to a branch. They had some basic, online banking. Now it's the iPhone. And the fact that these systems are available, not for disaster, but for modifications, because now they're so excited, we're actually trying to keep up with the AWS projects because of the amount of impact AWS and their microservices is having on the IBM Power system. So it's a lockstep type approach to everything that we do. Improve the resiliency, improve the security posture, prove that they have managed disaster recovery. Oh, I said disaster recovery, didn't I? So we got high availability, failover capabilities, and we built a third node for them for disaster recovery purposes too. And in banking, you got to prove to the cybersecurity people and to the compliance people that we can fail over in a runbook in a repeatable fashion every time. No room for error. And that's something we had to do before we even went live. User acceptance testing, all of that gets vetted out. So again, you don't have to be a bank to take advantage of AZ1, AZ2. You don't have to be a bank to say, hey, I'm going to do a lift and shift, and maybe I'll move, maybe I'll do all these microservices. But you could be a subset of that. Two-step, three-step modernization play. One-step, two-step land, and I need a couple more years to decide where we're going to go. Maybe we'll sunset our ERP, maybe we won't. But we'll show you how. So while you're deciding on your application, we can help you on the enterprise side with data protection, immutability, resiliency, all those things that you probably haven't had the time and cycles to do. Okay.
We wanted to leave about 10 to 15 minutes for questions.
Yeah.
So this is the final one that we can kind of dive in on. This is a probably top 5 watchmaker in the world. I would assume at least 2 or 3 of you in this room are wearing one right now. Richard is. But the big thing here is they were hit by a ransomware attack that kind of really identified to them how out of date their systems were. They needed a major refresh. And truly, they had an all-in AWS type of approach, but they had no idea what to do with this. When you don't know what you're doing and you're running a bunch of old systems, out-of-date systems, that is what is really, it's going to be open to a lot of security vulnerabilities. This is what they found, and honestly, they kind of came to us in a last-ditch effort to effectively upgrade their IBM systems to be in this hybrid solution. Richard, do you want to dive into more of the technical bones of how we did it?
Yeah. So again, people assume they have backups, and then you find out that when you do have, in this case, a ransomware attack, they did not have the ability to go to a point in time pre-ransom, to keep it simple. And again, they buy tape drives. They were not a virtual tape library shop. They physically had the technology, but it was really reliant on manual interfaces, people coming in, loading tapes, and that was the first strike. And then the inability, because they were on outdated hardware, out of support from IBM, they just had a local guy that could do it, and he was a consultant, and he was available when he was available. That's a lot of vulnerabilities. They were saving money. Really, it was costing them money. So by transitioning them, we actually took over all of their backup management, their policies, their security posture. And, as the CIO says, I wish I had done this years ago. Sometimes, we buy, what do? We buy an alarm system after we get broken into, right, in our homes. So this is about keeping your systems up and running ahead of the curve. And that's what we did with these guys. So, these are some case studies. There isn't one case study that will say this is my shop or your shop. Again, we don't sell, the small, medium, large, platinum, whatever. Talk to us. We have many subject matter experts on staff talk about how I can be different. No, how can I actually help you in this journey? It's not about being unique. It's about being right, repeatable, and something that can scale, and more importantly, make your environment meet the needs of your business for today, tomorrow. So.
Yeah, and I'd kind of just follow up with that hopefully what this talk has done is show you, like, you really don't need an all or nothing type of approach. You don't need to keep everything running status quo. You don't need to completely modernize off of the product. You could maybe do any of that, but the right option truly, a lot of times, is doing something that best fits the solution. And what this does is it allows companies to kind of go at their own rate that they want, and we are able to help them along that journey. We really appreciate you all joining. If there's any questions, we'd be
Any
happy to
questions,
answer.
stuff that's on your mind, where to go for dinner, what do you do when you got 13 and a dealer has a 7? He's your guy.
Always hit.
Yeah, always hit.